Is it your intuition or interference? Today we're going to be talking about how to know the difference. And the truth is that most women aren't able to tell the difference. And in fact, most people don't know the difference. And so how do you know? How do you tell? That's what we're going to be diving deeper into today. And this is one of my favorite topics and something that's very dear to my heart. And so I've got three ways to help you start differentiating and being able to know the difference. And so before we dive in, my name is Audra Coons, and I am a coach and mentor for science driven and success driven women who really want to have both their inner harmony and their envisioned effects in their health, their marriage, and their heart-centered businesses. And the truth is that every person has intuition and everyone has the ability to access it. Yet, like I mentioned, most people don't. So, why is that? Right. And so I'm going to go ahead and dive into the three ways that's going to help you start uncovering this for yourself. And this is something that I definitely go deeper into within my programs and in the work that I do, and something that I have really given space for in my life to really help me get in tune with that and really be able to live by that. And so this is something that I really implement and use and embody within my own life. And so that's why I want to bring it here for you, so you can start doing the same. So, number one is that intuition uses senses and interference is in the mind. And so intuition is really about sensing. It's using and drawing off our ability to feel and experience sensations. And so intuition is really felt. It is a felt experience. And so um, there's some people will have a more of a knowing, where other people might resonate with it being seen or heard. And so you can access your intuition by any of these and through any sense, any of your senses, where one of them might resonate more over the other. But first and foremost, just recognizing that it's more about a sensing, and knowing, and it comes through that felt experience, and it's less about what we think. And so interference is more based in our mind. And so it is very much where interference is coming from, or within it lies, is within that logical and rational part of us. And uh, just to dive in a little bit more, so you know, what am I talking about with interference? And that really comes from our mind's programming. So most of what we think and the thoughts that we have through the day are on repeat. They are repeating in different forms, and they're essentially kind of regurgitated from earlier experiences, things that we've heard, different ways that our brain has programmed messages or commands. And so if you think about computers, we store data, right? We save our files, right? And I know you've all experienced where your storage is full, especially if you think about your phone, right? We all, kind of dread getting that message of like storage full, memory full, and you're not able to save any more of your photos, or you're not able to do the things you want to do until you go and sort that out. And so, what we often do, and is getting, maybe we've got to go and get our iCloud storage, or, right, we end up getting more storage, or just deleting a couple of things and moving on, and we haven't actually cleared that up. So, we either end up getting that message right again, or we're paying, monthly to have more storage, because, instead of actually going and clearing it out. And so, this is how you can actually think about our brain and how it's functioning, right? And so, if we have a lot of interference, our storage is full or it's close to full, right? And so that keeps interfering with our ability to um, download the new program or use the new operating system. And, so we're feeling like backed up, right? And so, how to put that into context, right? We're not able to get that intuitive download or connect to the new operating system uh, to really use that to help us in our lives. And so, um, what we're wanting to do is recognize what that interference is, right, just like you may go through your storage and recognizing there's a lot of things in there that you don't actually need or are things on repeat, aka like your duplicate photos or different things, and it really all needs cleared out. And so, this is again the same with our mind, is that uh, our mind is always going, right? And there's always having these thoughts or these loops and repeating of thoughts, and it's really preventing us from accessing that intuitive part of us. And so, intuition was never about your mind, and it's always about your heart. And some people might resonate more with, right, about it's always about your soul or your spirit. Um, and there's different ways that we can describe it, but I'm going to talk more about, or just to recognize that it's about our heart. And the more that we're able to open our heart and clear out our mind, we'll be able to access more of this. And so, let me see here. I think I already shared. So, right, we're wanting to clear out our interference. And you can also think about it in signal, right? So intuition is, um, we're needing to tune into that signal so that we can receive that message, right? And so, practically, what is interference in our life, right? So, I already mentioned that it's about the mind and the thoughts that we're having, but let me go a little bit deeper into that. And so it's really about interference is our limiting beliefs, right? It is also the emotional backlog that we have, right? Or that some of us, are still, needing to work through some of that. And so, uh, you can always relate to, you know this thing happened to you, it could have been years ago, or thinking about your experiences in life, and you still remember it, you still have maybe some feelings about it, and even just bringing it up, it comes up. It's funny. I was earlier at a networking event, and anytime that people know that I'm a therapist, it always kind of sparks conversation for them. Or some of the things that I often hear is, right, it kind of immediately brings up of, oh my gosh, right, like my, when I was younger, this happened, or oh, my mom, or my relationship with so and so. And so it gets people already like thinking about their past experiences. And that's we talk about like emotional backlog, or when I mention that, right, that's what I mean, right? So you immediately can think of different things that have had an impact on your life. Sometimes really viewing that, right, not necessarily in a positive way. It feels negative, or it feels like just really impactful. That might be an indicator, right? There's still emotions there with that, right? And it doesn't even have to be anything big. It doesn't necessarily mean that you went through, a major trauma or anything. It's just the process of being human, that we are shaped from our experiences and from the things that we have taken in throughout our life, and specifically from when we were younger that started forming the beliefs that we have. And then again, right, the emotions that we have around how we perceived those experiences. It also doesn't have to be something from a long time ago, right? You may even have experiences that have been recent, um, that are contributing to this. So the other part of interference is it's really kind of bringing up that survival based fear. And right, this is anytime, like I've talked in other videos about things that trigger us or really kind of stir something up within us and get us kind of ruffling our feathers, or stirring us up is just kind of a casual way to talk about that. And that's usually kind of activating some type of survival based fear or just a survival response because we're wired to stay alive, to keep ourselves safe. And that's why we really can appreciate and we want to utilize our brain and our mind where it's kind of still running that same program. And a lot of times we're trying to do something new, we're trying to expand into something else, and so we're really wanting to operate on that new operating system, not the old one, right? And so coming back to survival based fear, how this often shows up in currently for where we're at as humans and in our experiences is actually more around love and belonging. Um, Simply because we're not, a lot of us are fortunate enough that we're not in life or death situations every day because of the advancements that we've made in our standards of living and just like safety overall. On a day to day basis, we, aren't necessarily facing life or death, or right, we have kind of the things for our basic needs where we still have this program that it feels that way within our system. And but it actually shows up more within um, belonging and our relationships within um, our community. So that's just something to note. And this is why we can have it can be scary and feel like we don't want to be rejected or we don't want to offend other people. And I could go on and on about that, but for the sake of this video, just recognizing back to interference, it's coming from our mind and our survival responses. And that shows up from limiting beliefs, emotional backlog, and then these kind of fear responses. So I'm going to move on to number two of how to really recognize the difference between your intuition and interference. And so number two is that your intuition is more calm. It's it's quieter. So sometimes you could relate that it's showing up kind of as a whisper. It can also be kind of a yearning desire or an inspired idea. So intuition is also it's a knowing, right? It can be something that shows up from messages, uh, which I'll do more videos on this because there's so much that you could say about it. But it can be something that you're sensing, hearing, where it's something a lot quieter and calmer, where interference or the mind is something that can be very loud, right? So you can recognize that if it's a survival based fear, the negative thoughts that we can have in our mind, or even the limiting thoughts that we have, um, they can get very loud, right? And so that's how you can kind of know the difference. And also knowing that intuition is not based in logic. And so sometimes our intuitive nudges, they don't make sense, right? Or they feel too big or too out there, or we're not able to really wrap our brain around it, right? And so um, it's probably the thing that you've shut down like 10 times already, maybe more, right? Likely more. But I say that to be kind of funny in that, right? This is how quick our brain turns on. And so something that you can notice is if you're bringing awareness to the thoughts that you're having or even that reaction, so you can maybe have the recognition that your self dialogue is running extra fast, or today, or right, it's getting louder and louder. You can think about what came up right before that started going faster, or that really right, it kind of hit that survival based fear. Those limiting beliefs turned on and your mind starts racing, right? So your intuition would be that quiet thing that came before that. So that's just one way that you can practice and see, to start knowing the difference. So the third one is that intuition feels more expansive and opening, and you can also really get excited with it. It can make you really come alive, and it also feels stretchy, right? And that's because it can feel scary, but that's your mind that it's feeling scary, right? And also very uncomfortable, even in our body, right? So, like I was saying earlier, it gets the mind going, right? Where uh, that actually, when you consider that intuitive nudge that came up, that's something that actually feels very exciting and like, ooh, that would be so fun, or oh my gosh, right? Like the creativity is flowing, and that, and then your mind, the interference comes in, and it's very protective and wants to keep you comfortable. And you can see, as I'm coming in, it's like it's more constricting, right? And so while intuition feels very expansive and maybe even inspiring, interference is more constricting and wanting to kind of keep you on that same path that it knows that it's safe. And right, it's not that one is good or bad, or that we want to have our intuition and we want to get rid of our mind and its function, because we need that as well, right? So it's really about knowing how to um, differentiate between the two, and then work with them so that they can ultimately, we can use them both, and can become more integrated, right? Where in this process, when you're really trying to access your intuition more and really differentiate that, the interference is going to be stronger, because your mind is, and your brain is really an attempt to say, wait, no, we don't want to follow that, it might not be safe. And so it's really doing its job because it's wanting to keep us alive, right? And we all want to stay alive. So um, these are just a few different ways that you can start differentiating between the two. And depending on where you're at, then you may have really a lot more cleanup to do with the interference. And that's something that I definitely do within my programs and within the spaces of how you can work with me. And also, if you've been on this journey for a while, or you've already worked through some of that, you may also be refining that more and more, so that you can not only like accessing your intuition, but you're able to interact with that more. And so you're able to really have those intuitive nudges, knowings, um, coming in more often. And at this point, something that's coming in for me on a daily basis, and something that I interact with on the regular. And so it feels a little more comfortable and closer. And right, that refinement process is then being able to really use that to for direction, right? And in your actions. So some people talk about like inspired action or aligned action. um, that's how we'll know that, right? And it will feel very clear to us, because we've worked through that interference that makes it feel scary, and instead we're integrating that and using that as the direction, right? So intuition is inspiring, it's the direction, it's the knowing. And then we're using our logical and rational brain as we're executing that, as we're taking the actions, we will use that too. And so um, I would love to know what you thought about today's video. If you enjoyed this, give it a like. If you want to stay tuned for more content about intuition or even about, cleaning up the interference, so specifically around, um, knowing limiting beliefs, like I said, that emotional backlog, all those things that can get in the way as you are really expanding and optimizing into, right, your goals with your health, your marriage, or your business. As a science driven and success driven woman, these things are going to be super important for you. And so definitely click subscribe if you want to stay tuned for more of those. And I also want to take a few moments to share a little bit about some of the ways that you can uh, uh, come into my spaces and really go a little bit deeper, get a little, a starter point, kind of an entry point for my work. And so the first thing that I want to invite you to is called the Sacred Scroll. And this is a private Telegram channel that I have where I drop very uplifting and inspirational messages, but also intuitively channeled messages that I'm getting and that I'm here to share with those of you who resonate with this message and really who also want to navigate life's challenges, right? And you want to really, grow and refine yourself as you're, um, you know, working through the different things that's going on in your life and the goals that you have. And so if that's something that is calling out to you, I invite you to check it out. I'll put all the information in the description box. This is like I said, it's a private Telegram channel. It is $11 a month. So, very accessible, easy way for you to um, not only be getting those messages, but really kind of tapping into a little bit more of how you can attune to your own intuitive knowings and really start accessing that more for yourself. I also created this because it's so easy, right, to get caught up in doom scrolling. And this is a way that you can get off of social media and still be getting, um, you know, connecting with uplifting messages and tuning into that for yourself. So check that out.